So this is momentous for us because we've just spent a week together, taping, cooking, spending time together. My name is Chatone Morrison, and this is the Getting to After podcast.
Morgan Bustos.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a really special time. So even though we don't celebrate any holidays or anything, she spent time with me, her family, just kind of hanging out in our crib and everything, and seeing the crazy.
Yeah.
Like you're used to behind the scenes for real,
We saw this.
behind the scenes. But I'm really happy she's been here. I do want to say that um, we don't just preach and teach this method of healing. We don't just talk about it. We be about it, okay?
Mhm.
And the last week has been pretty poignant in terms of movement, growth, release. And so I asked her if she wouldn't mind to share your experience. So I want to just set this up. So first of all, for those of you who haven't watched our other podcast episodes, and maybe you haven't seen our series on domestic violence, I always like to preface when we're going to be talking about delicate things. And today we are going to talk about some delicate things. You know, hide your kids, put on headphones if this subject might be sensitive for you in your life, and just to make sure that you're safe. One of the things that I've learned from, just working with you and being with you is that how important safety is. And if you haven't been through domestic violence, which I haven't, I've just been on the periphery of it and supportive as I could be. But I've learned what to say, what not to say, things like that. And so, if you have, we'll put it in the description below, and we'll also hopefully put it across the screen so you can tap in and see what our series was all about. But today, what we wanted to do is we wanted to just give you a little bit more insight about what EFT actually is. Emotional freedom technique is something you'll hear us talking about all the time. You'll hear us talking about tapping circles. And when I say that we're not just teachers and teachers of something, we're not just salesy trying to tell you to get involved in something, but it actually works and we actually use it. We actually use
Like
it
on a daily basis, we're using this.
all time. And so, what I asked Morgan to do, if she wouldn't mind, is, and she actually has some notes. You'll always see us like we're typically unscripted, like we're just doing a thing. But today, because it is a difficult topic and it's so new, that last week we had an opportunity to meet with our mentor, who we're going through a tapping academy, and we're making sure that we're 100% certified for all of our audience. Not just, I mean, we've been tapping for a long time. We both used it for a long time, studied it, but now we are getting official certifications. And so we're able to meet with our mentor and just really go through some deep things.
It was quick and hot and heavy, like when we were
Yeah.
doing it. So when I'm talking about this, I just want to put out the preface, like I might in a moment like go into my little trauma capsule for a second. So if I do, you'll see Chatone pull me out of that. Um, because it's interesting the things that I'm remembering of it and then the things that I'm not. And then over the last couple of days, what really, really was coming to the forefront of my mind.
Yeah.
So
So when you first arrived, I remember you got here at night, and I expected her to come early in the day, but she couldn't because you were going through some things already. And what we do in terms of tapping is when you're in the middle of, you may not always even know, like I'm in the middle of trying, make sure my light's always on. You may not even know that, but when you are able to know, I'm really going through something, you can right away tap in so that you can tap out of those negative emotions. And I don't even like to say negative emotions because emotions are not negative or positive. They're just us. We're human. And so they come and they go. But when they're bogging us down or they're keeping us from getting to after, when they're keeping us bogged down, it's really important whenever possible to see if you can get through them. Um, so when Morgan arrived, within like 5 minutes, you were already crying, you know?
I was just so happy to see her. Okay. Well, that was part of it too. No, it was just like an
Yeah.
emotional release to be able to
Yeah.
be so close to her and to know that I was in a safe place because leading up to this week, like Chatone had mentioned, there was so much I was already trying to process and accept and acknowledge and like move on from, right? So then when that happened, when I got here, I just I had actually before I even left, like Chaton was saying, I had already taken 2 hours to work on myself because I was like, I can't drive this far and know that this my head is that cloudy, that there was too much going on. So by being able to take that time to work on myself so I could get in the right mindset to be able to walk into whatever was coming around the corner. And it's not, that's the thing, dude. It's like not only just my emotions that I was
No,
worried about,
no, no, no,
I
no.
was worried about also being able to help my children navigate through whatever they were going to be, was going to be surfacing for them.
Yeah.
Right. So
So why don't you tell us why this time of year, without you, I mean, some of it you can catch in our series, Overcoming Silence, Resiliency and Discovery and Resilience After Domestic Violence, which we did in October in honor of Domestic Violence Month, where for the first time Morgan was able to tell her story and tell what has happened in her life. But why this time period? Why now, from now till the next 2 months? Why is it tough?
it's a good question. So let me first say this. One of the coping mechanisms that I've developed is to like my smile and my laughter and making jokes. So even though it's a super, super heavy subject, I don't want you to think I'm making light of it in like any way, shape, or form. That's not what it is at all. This is just one of the things that I've learned to use to help me survive, honestly. Um, so you're gonna see a lot of smiling and laughing and a whole bunch of crying. I'm probably sure there's gonna be some crying. Did I don't even know what did you just ask
I
me?
said, why this time?
Oh,
She
yes.
also is evasive at times.
Did you
She'll
I
evasive.
I
I
was
love
hoping
her.
she wouldn't have
I'm not. I don't miss
got
anything,
that.
but
Okay.
that's okay because sometimes that's also a protective mechanism that you may need to
Mhm.
use. And I just want to throw this out here really quickly. And again, I'm not going to be doing a lot of talking today, but if you're ever in a situation where you feel like, and we're talking about this going into the holiday period and being with friends and family who may not be that safe, protect yourself first. I'm not talking about physically, I'm talking about mentally and emotionally, spiritually. If you have to, because it's the family time and it's the reunion time, if you need to be with people that you know are going to be detrimental to you, but you
Prepare
want
for
to
it.
prepare. And so go back again, I think even last Monday, no, 2 Mondays ago, we talked about what does that look like? How can you prepare? We gave you some tapping transformations for that. So, but go ahead.
So leading up to this time of the year is more difficult because my husband would be home more because being off for the holidays, and so that meant that there was going to be more chaos within the home leading up to that. But also, if you go back to the previous the 5-part series of the domestic violence, when I'm walking you through that, Thanksgiving week is really really tough because that was one of the times that he busted me up pretty good, and I ended up um, in the hospital and then ended up going to jail because I was scared to talk about what had just happened. So, in order to protect my mother and my children that were still upstairs with him, I just chose to be quiet. So, with that being said, before I even left, I knew that that was like surfacing, you know what I mean? Um, so I had to make sure that I was in a safe place to be able to, first of all, safe place to address it. Second, to be able to come this far of a distance. But that's the whole reason why we came out here was to be closer to Chatone so that we can make new memories like we were talking about previously. Remember that? Stacking new memories on top of old ones, um, to help the babies and I to get through this week. And then also later on, next, well, no, it's already December, isn't it? So during December, we would always leave for 3 weeks and we would go to Orlando, and so that meant that there was 3 weeks of specific time that we couldn't get away from him. Like, it was right
And I
there all the
remember in
time.
our podcast in October, you said during this time was when, your daughter recognized that he was even putting substances in your food and your drink so that he could gaslight you and then also make you appear to be something that you weren't. So obviously at this time of year, there's going to be triggers because no matter, even if we've healed through something or you've worked through, and you've done so much work, but when you have trauma that resides in the body,
Mhm.
um, you can heal, but this is not that long, you know? This is not that long ago. So he's been passed for 3 years. It'll be 3 years in January.
Here's January.
So it's not a long time. And I have to say, she's that kind of mom. She's that mom. And I just out the blue was like, I don't think you coming up here is going to be the saving grace. I'm just like, would it help if you came by us? Would it help? Our kids are really good friends. And I'm like, they love each other. So I'm like, would it help to create space The only one missing is her older son. We're missing Uvar. We love Uvar. We're missing her older son because he had to work. But you know, I think that when I saw you come in, and even during that day, like I kept thinking she wasn't coming. She just was like, I was like really scared. I was like, she's not gonna
I
come
left
because,
her like a long WhatsApp message, and
and I wouldn't even
she
read it.
wouldn't read
I
it.
wouldn't listen to it.
She
I
was
was like,
like,
she's gonna tell me she's not coming, and I'm so sad already. So it's like I'm not listening to the message because I don't want to hear that, right?
right?
But in actuality, she was taking care of herself, and even that, I love that progress that the boundaries that you're creating, but also communicating. Because there's been times before you're supposed to come and you didn't come, and it was more of a coping mechanism and arms up. But now you're really safe here.
Mhm.
Like
Well,
we're
and
gonna
it's
let
a
you,
matter of yeah, of you're gonna let me
yeah,
heal.
yeah,
You're gonna let me do
whatever she needs
whatever
to
I
do.
need to do in order to
If you watch our series from last week, you did a workshop series. There was a day in it that she slept 30 hours. I'm just saying.
but that was
That's
part
what
of
she
healing.
needed. That's what she needed,
That's
you
part of
know?
healing.
So,
To piggyback on that for just a second, um, earlier this afternoon when I was processing a whole bunch of stuff, I also realized that me being able to be here, go through the tapping transformation I did with our mentor, and be able to come home to a safe place is the only reason why I was able to sleep because I was able to completely shut down because I knew she has my 6, right? So I could completely go me I could go to sleep, go mimis, I say mimis, so that my body could heal. So thank
and
you.
she knew I had the kids. I'm gonna feed them. I'm gonna water them. She knew that I had them. And so when we talk about transformation and tapping transformation and why we call it that, is that now she went through something that, I've only seen a couple times. I have not yet experienced at that level. With the physical body, through this modality, I've experienced it through a different healing modality where within one day, everything on my body changed, like everything in my mind changed. It's really interesting when it happens. But you released so much last week that there's going to be tears, there's going to be things like that, and sometimes people are scared of those emotions. They're afraid of what does that look like. But when I know you took some notes you want to share with everyone. Because if you're curious, what does it look like? How scary is it? Is it something that you need to be afraid of? Like what does it look like to be releasing? Why don't you talk with us about that?
So it's not even a scary moment. You're not sometimes you may not even realize what's going on and that it's affecting your body the way it is. Um, the amount of everybody's trauma looks different. Let me say that. So what could be a big thing to me may not be to you and vice versa. But for my body and what I was experiencing, because I had done so much work leading up to this moment, I mean, like years of work leading up to this moment, but in the last couple of months, consistently every day, all day, tapping through the things, I finally hit like a huge climax, this huge, huge release. So, what that looked like, man, dude, it was like, I'm going to be 43. So, 41 years of trauma, 41 years of severe chaos and trauma. Um, and the way it was coming out was interesting.
Yeah.
Like the pattern and process, I don't even
Yeah, one of the things that we do is called chasing the pain, because a lot of times what happens is that you get a pain. Like you may be a new client of ours and you come and you say, I have a shoulder pain. We're going to try and go deeper and find out, where did that originate? Like when did you first feel that? Okay, what was going on when you first felt that? Okay, what do you remember? What did you smell? What did you hear? Who were you with? What were you wearing? What color do you remember? And what happens is that we don't believe in things like hypnotizing and all of that. That is not what we're about whatsoever. But we have some things stored in us that is so deep. But if someone gives you the space and the ability, you can bring it up and then release it. It's not just about bringing it up and now sitting with it. Because what good would that do? Which is why we always recommend trying to do this work with a practitioner, because you could be bringing up a lot of stuff and then all of a sudden you're stuck with it. That's not healthy at all. In fact, it could be very dangerous.
Yeah, because there was a couple of times where had to like pull me back out of my trauma capsule that I was in because subconsciously I went so deep that I wasn't realizing that I literally put myself in a safe place because the things that were surfacing were too much for my little brain to handle at the moment. Um, and so gently, like he pulled me back out, right? So knowing that you have the people that have the knowledge and wisdom to help you navigate through that is really important.
So in terms of, moving through, going through into January, moving through December, and things like that, and obviously you let go of a lot of things because you'd worked on so much. Did it make sense to you that there was still some left, or did that seem surprising?
Surprisingly, there wasn't a whole lot left to work through. Like there what did you mean by that?
Well, so okay, so basically, I was with her during the work we were doing because we weren't really thinking we were going to be doing work. That wasn't the
We were
goal.
supposed to be
We
like
were just
working.
learning, okay, and in a special workshop. But what ended up happening was when things happen, and people care, then they'll let you get the work done. And so what I mean is that I mean, you have done a lot of work, and yet there was so much left to still to be done. Because a lot of our clients are coming with like, well, I've been in therapy, I've done this, I've done, but the thing is sometimes is that those places are amazing, those therapeutic spaces, because they allow you the space. But, and even coaching. I'm a coach from way back, right? I love coaching. But one of the reasons why I've incorporated this in my coaching for the last couple of years is because it enables you to literally get to something and release it. Not let's talk about it for 3 to 5 months. You know what I mean? Which a lot of coaches like to do. Let's move through. So my question is really when you were, going through these new things or when you were releasing so much, did that surprise you that there was still so much left?
Girl, yeah. Like I thought I was doing really good. I'm like, I got this. I'm going into this session and I felt confident, I felt happy and I left confident and happier.
Yes.
But walking into it, I was really surprised because I thought I had worked through so much of it already. And come to find out I scratched the surface of it, but there was more of the healing to do. Like there was so much more on a deeper cellular level to do. And so being able to finally acknowledge that these things that were going on in my head and like these memories that were coming back were true, being able to have them validated because it was all like one thing led to another, led to another, led to another. You know how the synapses in the brain works. But it was interesting because it actually started out because I was having tummy troubles. Like my stomach has been so messed up since January of of last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, well, so this year, so January
2024.
2024, I started having like severe stomach problems, like really, really like I was always like so distended. Um and couldn't use the bathroom a lot, or if I'd use the bathroom, it wasn't like doing anything. And I've
You
always
weren't
felt
getting a
toxic.
full right. You weren't getting a full release because your body's holding.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So then to find out that our bodies hold on to these trapped emotions and then manifest themselves as into physical pain
Yep.
made so much.
Inflammation,
Yeah,
all sorts of things.
like
Yeah.
pains in my shoulder, in my neck. Because think about it, people are like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so stressed out," and they'll be like, "Oh, did you hear that?"
Yeah, that one came out. That one came out.
I'm so stressed out, my neck hurts. So when we're doing the EFT, that's one of the things like Chatone brought out. We'll be like, okay, so where are you feeling this pain? So mine started off on the right side of my stomach and it moved all the way through. And then from there, it went to a shooting pain in
Your
my
chest.
chest.
Yeah.
And then from my chest to my neck.
Your
Yeah.
neck and your shoulders.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And then because we are very close, then I had a headache for 3 days. So while you were still working through your stuff, I had a headache because the truth of the matter is I watched her, you know, go through some things I didn't even know about. And I think as friends, you never tell everything, or you may not even know what to tell. You
That's
don't
true.
even know what's going on. Morgan, you were releasing stuff when you were 2 years old, and it's fascinating because in yesterday's podcast we talked about something that she loves. One of her things that brings her joy is sitting on a kitchen counter, and she just thought about that the other day. And I asked her, I said, "Well, what does that look like for you? What do you mean?" And she said, my mom used to do. So I knew it was. That's what I mean. It's the question. It's like, oh, that's cool. That's what happens when you're just talking to somebody. Oh,
Mhm.
that's cool. I'm like, okay, well, when was the first time that you remember that you liked being on a kitchen counter? Oh, okay, I was two. Okay, most people don't have 2-year-old memories, but she has pre-2-year-old memories. Then I'm like, well, what happened on the counter? Oh, my mom used to do this and that. We used to do this together. So you have a lot of 2, 3-year-old memories, and those were all being released last week. And it's interesting that as babies, we don't typically remember things, but there's a lot of things that happen to you at the 2 and 3 and 4-year-old level that were extremely traumatic. So a lot of that was coming out last week.
So with that, um, so that one was kind of deep. So just protect yourselves because this is a lot. So like the things that were surfacing for me was like just all the sexual abuse that had happened, um, and then with the friends that were attached to the family members and them doing that to me, um, and then also being abused by people in an authoritative position, right? So being in a situation where
People you trust
you're
or
yeah
you're
that are in a
supposed to
trusted
trust. Yeah.
position abuse that authority. And then when you're that itty bitty, you don't know. Like, you know, something doesn't feel right and you feel yucky. But at the same time, like, you're supposed to put your trust in them. You can't question adults. You can't, you can't say no. You can't do those kind of things. So it really, um, it's a lot. It's a lot to happen. But then it was interesting because then the way my brain was working, it took me from the moment when I was 2, then 4, then 6, then 9, 12. Like, it was like boom, 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 clear as day. Like those moments being reenacted. And that was the other thing, dude. So what started it was when we walked down to our mentor's office, we had to walk down into the basement, right? And he was very kind, and he was like, "Watch your head, the thing's low. Watch your head." We walked into the basement, so I already felt like something. Didn't know why. Then from there, what ended up happening is I saw a big couch area and a wall. Right? Of course, there's going to be a wall, but it meant something to me that I didn't realize. Then
Triggers.
yeah, triggers. Then I had to go back around and back around to his office. Beautiful home, gorgeous home, nothing scary about it whatsoever. But I felt anxiety rising inside of me. And I was like, okay, I know from the work that I've done previously that these are probably why, but it still wasn't quite there. Right. So then we get into his office and he's sitting here, the desk is here, all the cameras are here. I'm right here, mommy's right here, and there's a door behind him and a bathroom door right there. Well, that bathroom door was open, was cracked. We closed the door behind us so that the sound, so we could record, right? Because the whole purpose of this was for training. That's what this all started off as. I'm sitting down, and all of a sudden, I'm like, why do I feel sick? Why is my stomach hurting? Why am I starting to panic? And what it was is in my peripheral vision, I'm seeing all of these cameras, right? I'm seeing a door that's cracked, which messes me up, and I don't know what's behind it. So there's that fear.
And there was your back
My
was to a
back was
door,
to a door.
and there was a door in the corner that was
So,
closed.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know what's behind that door, who's behind that cracked door. I can't get out or see who's behind me because I can't move fast enough. It was all these things subconsciously that were going on. And then moving through it, it's because of the fact that there was all the sexual abuse that was being recorded. And that's why, like previously in our episodes, I had told you guys that I really struggled with being on camera, like having videos taken care of me specifically and pictures. And so when I saw like peripheral, all of those cameras and the lights, and then this big screen, and then being in a basement, thank God there wasn't any red brick. Otherwise, I would have lost it. But seeing all of that happening, I went into fight or flight without even realizing it. S
I just want to say, one of the things that's so important is that we have no idea because we don't always ask, we don't always know. It's not always our business. One of the things that Morgan has done by working in shelters, and we're working in more shelters, that's one of the work that we're doing. Um, with women that are going through certain therapeutic practices as they get their children back, as they go back into their own apartments, as they try to rebuild their lives and have a true transformation, or having their getting to after period, is helping them to understand what their triggers are so they can respect them. So many times as women, by the time we get to midlife, we may kind of know, but then there's stuff going on. We got to take care of kids. We got a husband. We got to, the dog, work. And then we don't respect the things we need. And it was so beautiful to see you say, now our mentor is amazing. But
Amazing.
it's like he could, a good EFT. I mean, he's above a practitioner. Okay. He has a whole school. But the thing is that someone who knows what they're doing is going to be able to see that something's wrong. So I'll give an example. Last night we were talking through some of the work that she did, a couple weeks ago, and it kind of resurfaced. And within moments, it was late, like 1 a.m. So I just said, "Why don't you go to bed?" I was still up doing some work, but I saw it.
Mm.
A good practitioner, a good coach, and this is not to big me up, but I've been coaching a long time, can see the energy as it shifts and then shifts with you as friends, as moms, as sisters, as daughters, looking at our moms. Sometimes we don't have that. We don't know what that looks like. And one of the reasons why tapping also is awesome is it's not just for you. It's not just what you see. It's what you're able to see for others so that you know how to respond. So I remember when you had first said, you wanted to get things inside of, and look, we're putting it out here. If you happen to see this, you may need to just come and contact us, tapping at getting to after.com. I'm Chatone Morrison. This is Morgan Bustos, because you may need us in your organization. I remember back when we first started this, one of the things you want to do is get into corporations so that people could understand or have different modalities and just go to EAP or just go to therapy. But it could even be some capsule training or a capsule course where you can have a lunch and learn, and you could have people who are going through traumatic experience, but you're trying to get all that work out of them. People are just people. They need support. And so I know that was one of your things, so that even like a manager or a director can see my employee there, they need some kind of support. And without being overly invasive, without, stepping all over their rights, see how they can support. I have a background in HR, and I don't know if I was stepping on anybody's rights. Shout out to my old team. Sorry if I did the wrong thing, but I used to sit in the parking lot when I would travel to Dallas because I didn't work with my teams. Didn't see them all the time. This is pre-Zoom, and I used to sit in the parking lot so that I could watch my employees walk in. I had a lot of single women working with me. I wanted to see what their body language looked like as they were walking into the office. That's what a coach does. I wanted to see how long did it take them to get from their car to the front door. Does everyone want to skip into work? Maybe not. But if it takes you 10 minutes to walk into work, I want to have a conversation with that woman to find out how things are going. Is it at home? Is it like what's going on? And you will get more out of. So if you're a manager, director, if you're in HR, you'll get more out of people if you
If
notice.
you know what's going on with them. And that was my biggest reason for wanting to go to corporate, because you have all these people that you're at work with. They have high expectations. The demands are really high. You have the HR side of it, and you have like on the the paperwork, like when you're signing it to
Yeah,
to get
yeah,
in.
yeah.
Here's your therapist. Here's your optometrist. Here's your da 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 da. Da. And here's somebody to call if you think you need help with someone to talk to. But people are scared to talk because if they say there's something wrong with them, then their
There's
job's in
repercussions.
jeopardy,
Yeah, sometimes there's
you know?
repercussions, or people are judgy, things
Mhm.
like that. So, all right. Well, we're coming up about the half-hour mark, and I know we wanted to get some tapping in. Um, I think that in this, I did write one out, so I'm not going to be tapping with you this time. But for those of us who have trauma, Morgan's had a lot of trauma, and yet look at her. Healing is possible. Obviously, you're a very spiritual person. You have a strong faith in God. It's not just tapping. We would never say that. It's not just hydration, drinking water, good skincare, right? We do have faith as well, which is the most prominent
Biggest part.
thing, biggest part, right? But And friendship matters, communication matters, being open, being honest, and being willing to say, Chatone, I need to sleep for 24 hours. Are you okay with that? Having someone who's in your corner so much and love you so much that really basically nothing you can do matters. You know what I mean? Nothing, you can't hurt them or hurt the relationship matters so much. So many of us are not walking around with that. And when you don't walk with that, you got to walk with something. So we're going to be inviting you to join our tapping circles. Um, that we have new ones starting in January. I'm going to invite you to come join us because many of us are literally, it's not even just a trauma capsule. We have like a trauma boulder and we just have it up here like a shoulder pad and we're just walking around with it. It's like the suits of the 90s, and it's like maybe you can take some of that padding down so that you can have more joy, which is what we've just been talking about. So this particular transformation is about that extreme overwhelm. I know that you did a lot of work. What's wrong?
No, I was just gonna say, can I real quick tell them about what happened in that 24 hours?
Oh, sure, of
Just
course.
really quick before
Of
we move
course,
on
of
to this.
course, of course.
Okay, so dude, I kid you not.
Don't you love how she calls you dude? She's from out west.
So, no joke. I in that
Yeah.
24
We
hours
forgot
while I
that
was
part. Sorry, you
sleeping,
got to share that. Yeah.
I not only did I sleep a lot, like I had said, my stomach was extremely distended to the point where like I was calling Chatone and I'm like, I have to buy new clothes again. Like I don't fit in anything. I was so depressed over the last
And she thought it
11
was a
months.
midlife thing.
Yeah. And so, like, even one of my friends is like, she's like, that's perimenopausal. She's like, welcome to our world. And I'm like, no, I refuse to accept it. But then, not saying it's not, but to find out that it was all of this trapped emotion. When I tell you, when I tell you, my stomach went from being to right here to all of a sudden I woke up and I had abs. I
Yeah.
said, great, googly googly. I kid you not.
Her
I took,
face,
I,
the neck, everything. And she didn't tell me this was going on, but she just was in the bathroom for a really long time, all day.
yeah,
And I'm just like, my stomach, my stomach. But then I would see her 2 hours later and I'm like, Morgan,
my
are you
daughter,
thin? Like, what in the
yeah,
world happened to your face? Like, what is going on? Yeah.
like, the baby came up to me and she's like, "Mom, I didn't realize." She's like, "I look at you, but I never really look at you because 'cause you're my mom and you stay the same all the time." But, like, she goes, "Your face completely changed." She's like, "You look completely different." She's like, just, like, looked really, really
Yeah.
funny at me. So why I was telling you that is, like, so I lost, like, 4 inches around my waist and an easy 6 to 7 pounds. Like like that. I'm not saying that's gonna happen to everybody or
And
anything,
it may not need to
but
happen,
yeah,
but
but all that
depends on what you have.
inflammation in
Yeah.
my body, because remember I told you previously about my fibromyalgia and chronic
Yeah.
fatigue being a part of this too? So, that's actually where I thought most of that was just me being tired for me
Yeah.
sleeping that much, but it was because my body was trying to heal itself. In that healing process, I literally was releasing so much that my body
Yeah.
completely transformed too,
Yeah.
along with my mental state.
It's real crazy. It's very critical. It did happen to me once, again, different modality, where I lost about 6 pounds in it one day. And it was water weight and things like that. But the point is I wasn't trying to lose weight.
Mhm.
I just was going through the modalities and going through the healing and kept peeing. And I was like, what in the world? Where does that come? Like if I have 8 ounces, how can I pee a gallon? How does that work? This stuff is trapped in your body. Inflammation, swelling in different areas that you don't even think about. Your wrist could be swollen. You could have swelling up in here. It could be in the chest area. This is where I hold a lot of fluid. So tapping, when you start to really be introspective about how you feel, like questioning, being curious, like, you know what? Every time I come to this location, I feel this, or every
Mm.
time I do this particular activity, I feel that. That curiosity is something that we can work on so that we can help you release those. They could be big T traumas or little T traumas. We can help you release those obstacles, those things you're feeling stuck, and help you get to after.
Another one that you, and Jason had showed me was, like, even a movement, like, how a movement of me turning back and looking over my shoulder, like, took me to a not good place. Like you had mentioned, sounds and smells can take you to a
And
not
body
good place. Body
movements.
movements,
Yeah.
yeah, it can be a huge trigger.
Yeah. So lots
Right.
of things, a lot of things that are super powerful. that many of us are just coping with, but you don't have to without any recourse. There are things you can do, and what I love about it is that they're simple. Um, if you decide you want to tap along with us, there's something called tapping benefits or borrowing benefits, where even if you've never been sexually molested, maybe if you've never been in a domestic violence situation, maybe you have an emotionally abusive boss. My daughter was just telling me about one of her college professors that is literally emotionally abusing one of the students in the classroom. It's terrible. I didn't even tell you about it yet.
Mm.
Terrible. Like, how do you do that? Calling her an idiot, calling her stupid, things like that. In 2024, like, are you kidding me right now? Now you're putting a trauma on this young girl who's like 23 as she's going to try and go into the workplace. She's going to have that trauma. So I'll be talking to her
Good.
to make sure that she can release that because
Yeah.
this is not an age thing. Yes, we talk to midlife mamas, but this is something that I tap
Affects
on my
everyone.
dog. You kidding me? That dog, he's trifling.
Poor
Sometimes I
baby.
have to be like Nestle because no, I'm not sure if that works, but you can tap on your babies and things like that. Or if you have a geriatric person that you're caretaking for, you can
Mm.
tap on them physically yourself. Doesn't have to be their fingers. There are borrowing benefits from you using even your hands on them.
I like that, borrowing benefits.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we're going to do this real quick. So let's go ahead and remember when we do these tappings, one of the things you'll be thinking about, we're going to be talking about overwhelm today, like heavy overwhelm. And you're really like, I do not know the way out, or I just can't, like, it's just right
Yeah.
there. Um, One of the things you can think about is where on a level like of 1 to 10, where is your overwhelm right now? 1 to 10, where's that angst at, and where are you feeling it? From 1 to 10, because as we go through the tapping, we're going to see if you're going to be looking to see, does it drop down a little bit? Because it's always the goal to drop down a little bit. Although I will warn you, sometimes it amps up a little bit because we spend so much time covering
Mhm.
what's going on that when we actually let ourselves feel the negative things, sometimes it amps up a little bit. Another reason why you want to work with a practitioner. Okay, so let's take a deep breath. All right, so we're going to go in through the nose and out through the mouth. Let's do that one more time. So for you, Morgan, I know you're not as overwhelmed as you've been, but maybe just tap into something that you may feel a little overwhelmed about. Maybe it's going home, maybe it's taking a ride, getting the kids ready, things like that. And for you out there, it could be something that's very specific, or it could just be a heaviness that you're feeling. So just go ahead and tap into that. Give yourself a number from 1 to 10. Where are you at on this scale of feeling And what we're going to do is we're going to do our setup statement. Can you show them? So that's going to be on the side of the hand. They I can hear you because you're not the mic up. So
Well, I didn't
it's
want to
okay.
like be like
No, I know,
thump
I
thump
know. No,
thump.
no, it's okay. So I'm just saying, if you talk, they may not hear you. Right. So you notice how she's doing that on the side of the hand. So that's called a karate chop point or the side of hand point. And that's what we do to do our setup. And while we're doing that one, it's always something that's a little bit, we're tapping into the negative, which doesn't feel comfortable, but we tap into the negative so that we can then release and let it go. So even though I feel overwhelmed,
Even though I feel overwhelmed,
I honor how I feel right now.
I honor how.
Even though my situation feels heavy,
Even though my situation feels heavy,
I trust that I have the strength to transform it.
I trust that I have the strength.
And even though I'm carrying a lot,
Even though I'm carrying a lot,
I choose to create space for peace and clarity.
I choose to create space.
All right, so now we're just going to go. We're going to start at the top of the head. I feel overwhelmed and it's okay.
I feel overwhelmed and it's okay.
This heaviness at the eyebrow point, this heaviness feels like it's too much right now.
And this heaviness feels like it's too much right now.
Side of eye, I don't know how to move past it. Under the eye, but I'm here and I'm open to change.
But I'm here and I'm open.
Under the nose, I honor how I feel even though it's uncomfortable.
I honor how I feel even though
Chin, I choose to release what no longer serves me.
I choose to release it.
Collarbone. I am creating space for calm and clarity.
I'm creating space for calm and clarity.
Under the arm. I don't have to carry this all on my own. All right. So now we're going to do some affirmations. And normally we would go through maybe 2 or 3 rounds like that. For time purposes, we're only doing once, but what you can always do is go back in this recording and go ahead and tap on that again. Just do it again. Do it 2 or 3 times and see if your level goes down. All right. Go ahead.
One thing, it just happened. One thing that even just happened, like your body will release, like I just belched. So a lot of times I'll either belch or I'll yawn, cry,
tears, chills.
chills.
Mine is chills
Or
all the
have to go to
time.
the bathroom
Yep.
quickly. Like, so your body will release it if you allow yourself to be vulnerable enough to do so. And that's the thing, is being in the moment of this.
Yep. All right, so now what we're going to do some affirmations. All right, and you know, people love affirmations. I love them. They're in my book, Fat and Happy. I love a good affirmation, but sometimes they're just covering too much negativity. They're just covering too many lies. And when you let your truth out first, and the affirmations really have some place to like sink into. Yeah, so it's really powerful. Okay, so we're going to tap through these. We're going to start at the top of the head again. I'm open to letting this feeling shift.
I'm open to letting this feeling shift.
Eyebrow point. I trust that I am safe and supported.
I trust that I am safe.
Under the side of eye. I am finding balance in this moment.
Balance.
Under the eye. I release what I don't need right now.
I release what
Under the nose. I am calm. I am capable.
I am capable.
I am centered. Chin. All is well.
All is well.
Even if I can't see it yet. All is well. Collarbone. I honor my strength and ability to grow.
I honor my strength and ability to grow.
I honor my strength. Under the arm. I trust myself to handle whatever comes next. Whatever comes next. All right. Let's take a deep breath. And release it. Listen, this process helps us to navigate overwhelm. To say you're never going to be overwhelmed is absolutely insane. We're going to have it, sometimes more than others. This is great if you have a teenage daughter who's being bullied. This is great if your teenage daughter has a frenemy.
Happens all the time.
They have frenemies, yeah.
Even at our age.
Well, hello. Let's not even go to that's for another episode. Yes. And you have to release the people that keep smiling in your face like they like you and they don't like you, and your gut is telling you they don't like you, but you're with them. And so your gut says, they don't like us, and it starts to puff out. And then you hate yourself over your belly, but it's not your belly, it's actually that person who you're carrying in your belly. Let's not even go there. It's real. It's real. Sometimes you have to release people. Doesn't mean you don't love them, doesn't mean you don't never be around them. It doesn't mean that. It just means that good boundaries, which we'll be talking about always, good boundaries are godly. Even God has boundaries.
Did you guys just hear that?
It's godly. Good boundaries, right?
Yeah.
He has boundaries that you can't cross. Sometimes you have to develop good, godly boundaries that no one can cross, and know what those are. Because if you keep letting people cross them, or you see with your children, you keep letting people cross them, sometimes that's teachers, sometimes it's professors, sometimes it's other adults, sometimes it's family members who then are dangerous people. We have to step up and protect, but we have to first take care of ourselves first, and that's what this is all about. So Morgan, thank you. You keep being willing to be vulnerable. Thank you, because it's serving. It's serving. And we're going to come back in probably next couple of weeks and just let you know some of the things that have happened since we decided to go public, since you've decided, because it's not about me. I'm the silly one in the group, really. I talk a lot, but it's really about, this was born because of needing to be free and emotional freedom. That gives you a clue, right? It's about getting free.
Did you guys catch that? Emotional freedom.
Yeah. All right, we're out. We hope that you have an opportunity to check this out, do the tapping with us. Definitely in the comments below, let us know. Share this broadcast with someone else. Tap in with us. Again, you can reach us at tapping at gettingtoafter.com. That will be in the description box below. And definitely, if you're like, I'm interested, but I don't know how to find it, don't just Google it. Get our free workbook. Our workbook you can get at bit.ly/. G2A-LB1, all capitals, and one is a number. Two is a number also. It's bit.ly/. G2A dash LB1. That one talks about limiting beliefs, but it also gives you how to tap. And if you're like, I really want something tangible, then you may be interested. We're developing a journal. The journal will have inside of it exactly what all of the tapping is. And it'll also have a couple of tapping scripts for you to try so that you have something tangible to work on at home until you decide to work with us. They're gorgeous. We didn't show them yet. But they're gorgeous. They're coming. They're coming. Um,
And in different colors.
they're so cute. They're
Adorable.
gorgeous. They're gorgeous. But it will help you because you'll have not only, what the tapping points are, what they represent,
Mm.
but also some great tapping transformations for you to work on and repeat for yourself as well.
Yeah, I was just thinking too, when we just went through this, you're gonna feel something. And like Chatone brought out, we only did the one round of the one
Yeah.
round. So there's a couple more rounds that we do have access to that you can gain access to. So if you'd like to, go ahead and reach out to us via email at
Tapping at
tapping. Mhm.
gettingtoafter.com.
And then we can go ahead and forward that over to you too.
All right. Thank you so much. We love you. This has been the podcast. I'm Chatone Morrison,
Morgan Bustos.
and we love you. Peace.